up in motorcades. I got a show today. It's all I'm trying to do. Hustle and motivate. Choppers a throwaway. Hustle the overweight. That's why they follow me, huh? They think I know the way. Cause I took control of things. Ballin' the solo way. And if you pattern my trend, I make you my protege. Slossin' that soldier race. Niggas don't know them days. Take you in back of the buildings. Make you expose your rage. Take you across the tracks. Make you explode the face. Now you official now, but you got a soul to save. I just been cooking that new. I'm about to drop in a few. Think if I call it the great, the people gon' call it the truth. Ain't really trip on the credit. I just paid all of my dues. I just respected the game. Now my name all in the news. Tripping on all of my moves. Quote me on this, got a lot more to prove. Remember I came in this bitch, fresh out the county with nothing to lose.
No, wanna count on you, but I don't do this shit for nothing. No, not at all. You, but my money real, that you do.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. I'm Chris. That's Cam. Cam, say what up.
What up?
We're two dudes that are trying to figure out this podcasting thing. We both want to get into podcasting, so I think we're going to give you a little bit of an intro into both of us and just tell you all a little bit about what we were thinking with this podcast, what kind of way we want it to go, and what we want you guys to get out of it, what we want to get out of it personally. And, we don't want to be giving an intro every episode, so this is the only time y'all are going to have to be listening to us kind of just talk about just ourselves. But to give everybody a little background information, like I said, my name's Chris Davis. That's Cam Howard. Cam, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, like, age and just a little bit of your background. Like, if someone met you, how would you invite them into your life?
Yeah, all right, so my name is Cameron Howard. I am a 25-year-old content creator, which means I do videography, photography, web design. I create content to be shared on social media platforms. I'm a former Marine, and I guess a black hippie. That's another way to look at something as well. So kind of a super interesting mix. I am mixed. I'm half black, half white. Half my family is from upstate New York, and the other half is from Auburn, Alabama. So I'm kind of just all over the place, just a mixture of everything.
Hey man, I think that's what a lot of people are nowadays. Like, who really knows without Ancestry.com where they're really from? So we're all just kind of hanging out on this planet. So that's what's up. I mean, you said black hippie. I mean, you definitely got the hair going with it. I know last time I saw you, you was growing it out like Jay-Z.
Oh yeah, man. Trying to get the freeform dreads, man. Just see how nature dreads my hair.
You gonna dread it up?
Yeah, man. It should naturally dread. That's what like freeform dread is. It's like, it's just letting your hair kind of do whatever it does, to become dreads. So like J. Cole had freeform dreadlocks. The Weeknd had them. Cam Newton's growing them right now. So so
you don't really have to do anything but just let them grow?
Yeah, man. It's supposed to be like a reflection of your lifestyle. So like the longer that your hair gets and like the different ways it grows is supposed to be kind of like reflective of like you as a person. So yeah, you just let it grow.
My hair's pretty long right now, so I'm with it. White hippie. A little bit about me. I'm 26, old enough that I have to think about it. I guess I'm a content creator. I had my own little podcast going for a while, and I still want to, keep doing that. It was called I Record This Podcast in My Front Yard. I had a lot of fun with it. But honestly, man, just doing something by yourself is very, very hard, and I kind of let my inner bitch conquer me for a little bit with that. Like, I just kind of let the stress, tell me that I couldn't do it by myself, and I probably ultimately could have. I actually know I could have. But this is also a pretty cool route because the main thing I liked about the podcast was like talking to other people and getting their experiences and just having conversations with them. It was really fun. And a lot of people sometimes were just like, just do episodes by yourself, and that's cool and all, but that's not really what I wanted to get out of the podcast. It's sharing experiences, and it's real therapeutic, honestly. Like just getting on and talking to whoever about whatever. You don't realize how much you want to talk to someone until you do start talking to people and just having a conversation. I think sit down conversations aren't lost these days, but they're definitely a lot rarer than they used to be. I know we're getting older, so it's a lot harder for like our friend group to get everybody out and just kind of hanging out and have that guys night, that girls night, and just kind of reminiscing on everything. Those are always the best nights. But like I was saying, it's fun to talk to people, man. So that's kind of what I want to get out of this, is just what I think we were thinking was we just want to like share our experiences on like how we get through. I mean, life's crazy, and a lot of people have different circumstances, and some people might think they're the only ones with them circumstances, but they're not. And we're here to just share that we go through shit. We know other people that go through shit. We're gonna have friends on the podcast, and hopefully one day people we don't know that just want to come on and that just enjoy the podcast and have the same idea as us and just want to kind of get their story out and let people know that you ain't alone. So with that,
which I think is something super crucial, man. I think just being able to talk about ideas, about people with different ideas, is something that is kind of like we're shying away from nowadays, which just is, in my opinion, it just makes things not as good. Like if you're only listening to like one side of things, then you're never gonna hear the negative side of things, or you're never gonna see like how something can be better, or how something can be changed for the better. So I definitely agree with you. I think it's really crucial just to have people with all types of ideas ready to just speak their truth, so everybody can just what's the word? So everybody can, I guess, get a better understanding of just of what's really going on, and say, hey, it's okay to talk about things, and it's okay to disagree with people.
Yeah, and that's one thing you said, is just being truthful. Like, speak your truth. Like, don't lie to yourself. Like, everybody has fucked up. Everybody's made mistakes. Everybody's bounced back. And it just happens. It's life. It's a circle of life. I just saw The Lion King, so I know that shit. Like, you're going to mess up. I'm going to mess up again. But, I'm going to make up for it again. And as long as you just keep making up for your mess ups and just keep improving, then nobody, as long as you, I feel like that's why I could look myself in the mirror at night and be cool, just because I know, like, there might have been a time where I didn't necessarily spend as much energy as I should have, like making things up to people if I did mess up, and now I'm trying to do that. I'm just trying to, if I do mess up, own up to it. Don't lie to myself about whatever I screwed up with, and just keep pushing.
Yeah, man.
Like, I heard something the other day, and someone was trying to explain the difference between like anxiety and stress, and basically what I gathered from it was like, anxiety is when you have stress but you keep thinking about it, and stress is just like, something bad happens but you're like, all right, well, that sucks, here's what I'm gonna do to fix it, and you just let the punches roll. But anxiety is like, not, and I know it's out of people's control a lot of times, but if you think about it like that as long as I keep the stress on my mind, then it's going to turn into anxiety. Then that's when it does. That's when you let whatever thought is in your head live there rent free. Like, you just got to realize, like, shit happens, and figure out what you're going to do. Take a moment, figure out what you're going to do to fix the situation or what needs to be done, and just let it ride, man. Like, that's what I've tried to do. I'm not very religious, but I just try to let go and let whatever, energy of the world control what's going to happen. I don't try to act like I have all the answers and I know everything. So
yeah, absolutely.
Just try to let it flow.
Yeah, I agree with you. One thing that I like when I deal with anxiety and stuff that I try to do is to try to have some either like form of art where you can like express what you're feeling like creatively and not worry
Yes,
about
bro.
getting judged, or just like hobbies. So like MMA for example, that is like one big way that I kind of like deal with it. If I'm feeling like too much anxiety or anything like that, then I know like when I go to the gym and I'm
We would
doing
all like to
MMA.
strangle people when we have too much
Yeah.
anxiety, Cam. So I think that goes without saying.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, when you're worried about just trying to survive because somebody's trying to choke you out, you don't really have time to worry about anything else. You know what I mean? So the anxiety kind of goes away for a little bit. And
Badass.
Kind of take a break from the world. You know?
I mean, you ain't lying, bro. Like, even like working out, you know, and kind of getting the blood flowing and just realizing like your body has limits and stuff. And then when you start working out, you don't think about anything else.
Mm-hmm.
All you can think about is breathing and meditation. I mean, these are the things you hear all the time, but once you actually practice them in your life and like not bullshit and like, oh yeah, I tried to meditate for 5 minutes and it didn't work out. Like, find your own meditation, bro. Like, it's not just like sitting yoga style on a mat and just going it ain't that. It's when I meditate, I try to just not think about anything. Like, any thoughts that come to my head, I try to just shake them off for as long as I can. I mean, a 10-minute meditation session really can improve your whole day. Like, it does. Don't ask me how it does, but it just does. It makes you feel better. It makes you feel like you took the time to like search your inner self for what's going on and just kind of answers within yourself.
Yeah, man. How do you meditate? Because like there's like different forms, I guess, of meditation for me. But like honestly, I need to get back to meditating because I don't know. When I get up in the morning, I know like a lot of times people say meditate in the morning, but my ass I just want to like go back to sleep. You know what I mean? And it's just sometimes it's hard for me to really meditate and just get in like that mindset of just like, you know, hey, let me go ahead and get centered on myself first. So like, what do you do to like stay like keep your goal on like meditating?
Well, I mean, so like I've tried the meditating in the morning thing, and I'm kind of like you. Like, it's like I feel like I don't need it. So what I try to do around like, you know, lunchtime, after lunch, that's when I'll try to like, and you know, it's circumstantial. So if I'm at my house, then I can do it what I want to do. What I would prefer to do is just I lay in the bed, I tell Alexa to play, you know, whatever I'm feeling. Like, if I'm feeling like a rainforest or a jungle type vibe, like I'll tell her to play some sounds like that, and then I'll just lay there and focus on. I have like a breathing pattern. I heard this from Joe Rogan's podcast, which you'll hear that a lot on this podcast. But you take in a full breath like this, just, and then you let out 10%, and then you take in another full breath, and then you let out 10%. If you do that, like, or not even necessarily just that, but have some kind of focusing on your breathing pattern. Just close your eyes, focus on your breathing, and like I said, I just try to like dodge every thought. You know, when you're sitting there and you have no thoughts, you have all the thoughts. So, you know, whatever happened to you yesterday that you didn't like will come up. You gotta dodge that shit. Whatever your ex-girlfriend will pop in your mind, you gotta dodge that shit. Like, your future girlfriend will pop in your mind. Like, just anything like that. Any kind of thoughts, good or bad, I try to get rid of. Like, if I'm anxious about something or like excited about something, you know, sometimes I get a little bit too excited about situations and project like my excitement onto the situation, and sometimes that leads to being let down. So that's what I try to do. I just try to search myself by blocking out everything, and then after I get done, whatever thoughts are still there or lingering are probably thoughts that I need to take care of in one way or another. If they're bad thoughts, then I need to figure out how to get those thoughts away from me. If they're good thoughts, then I try to, you know, keep that energy up, and I try to let that tell me, hey, this is something that you should pursue, whether it's an idea, whether it's an opportunity, whatever it is. That's what I try to get out of meditation. And then, like I said, if you only do that for 10 minutes a day, bro, that's all you need. People think they can't find some way to just take a second. You don't have to be in the bed. You don't have to be listening to music or anything. You could be in a crowded room and still, if you practice enough, it's kind of like a game. If you practice it enough, that's when you just get better at understanding what it takes to block out all that shit.
Yeah, man, it seems like there's some pretty crazy stuff to like breathing as well, man. As far as like, it's a lot deeper than what we really even know about it. Cause have you ever heard this guy called Wim Hof?
Yeah, dude, Wim Hof. That's heard it off Joe Rogan. And actually, not to cut you off, but a quick side note on what I think you're about to talk about is, I have cystic fibrosis. It's a lung disease. So, when I saw the Wim Hof shit, like, that's it. It's night and day, bro. Like, if you just take a little while to breathe,
Yeah.
it could go a far way. So, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, like the Wim Hof method. When I like stumbled upon it, there was Derek Kennington, I would believe. He's the guy that I used to train with, and then he was the first person I ever heard about it. That was a few years ago, and then after that, I heard about it by Yes Theory on YouTube. They actually went, and of course Joe Rogan, but Yes Theory, they actually went to Wim Hof and wanted to go train with him, and he just threw them right into like the craziest of environments, and all they did was like focus on their breathing, and they were like withstanding all these extreme temperatures and doing all this crazy stuff that they didn't even realize that they could do just from like breathing. I was just like, what?
True that, dude. Like, I am someone that gets cold easily. Like, my bones ain't built like everybody else's. Like, I get cold. So what I do, I'll try, and I feel like what I was talking about, the inhale fully and exhale 10% and just keep, I feel like that's the Wim Hof method. If not, I feel like that's one he came up with. But that shit works, bro. Like, if you're out in the cold and you do that, it's just something about focusing on your breathing. You're not thinking about all that other shit. So that's what I think, that's why I added that to my meditation, was because, like I said, if you focus on breathing, you have no choice but to focus on that only. For those of you who don't know who Wim Hof is, he's I'm gonna like butcher this explanation of him, but he's someone that's like, he did that, like, he's come up with these methods of breathing, and he's done crazy shit. Like, this man will like swim in Antarctica, correct?
Yeah, I want to say it's either Antarctica or it's like, I think he like set the Guinness Book of World Records for swimming under ice and like prolonged full body contact with ice.
And just for some context,
yeah, he also
he's white.
ran a half marathon barefoot on ice in the snow. Like,
that is the only shit that white people do.
Right? You won't catch me out there.
Bro,
From the Netherlands. All right, from the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's what it was. He's crazy. I believe there is a whole episode on Joe Rogan, or where he's on Joe Rogan's, and it was really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like with meditation, I think on this podcast, like what I think we want to do is like just make you laugh a lot. We're definitely gonna try to. I mean, I think we're just two funny individuals, so we're gonna make you laugh. We're gonna try to make you think, and I think we want to have some debate. I think especially for those who know us, and depending on where this goes, we could set up an email address or a Twitter or whatever it is to just communicate with the fans out there. We definitely will always want to do that, is have some kind of like fan interaction with this show, because that's ultimately what a show is. It's just it's reciprocation between us and y'all. Like, we're all in this together, and I think that's what we want to get out there, is that we want it to be just a big family. I think that's how I want it to be. I think that's how you want it to be.
Absolutely.
I mean, if we can make you laugh, think, debate, maybe cry, maybe a little sad story here or there. Not too many, hopefully, but we'll definitely get into some real shit. Like we were saying, like, we can't tell you to be truthful if we're not truthful, so we're definitely going to try to get our thoughts out there, and just have a good time with every episode. I think a lot of times we'll have some topics we'll even talk about on here that we'll probably expand upon in future episodes. We'll figure out the format of what we want to do exactly, but we could have a 45-minute show about last night's UFC. One day we could have a 2-hour show with a dope guest on the next day. Like, you never know what we're going to give you, and we don't know what we're going to give you exactly, but we know we're going to give you some dope material to just get through the day and listen to. I know all I listen to is podcasts now, because you can only listen to the same songs from 2008 so many times, and that's all I do is listen to old songs. I don't listen to new shit, really. So I need those podcasts, bro. Like, what podcast do you, like, go back to all the time? Because I know I listen to a ton of them, but there's, 4 or 5 that I'm always gonna go back to.
All right, so I have a couple different podcasts that I listen to podcasts every night before I go to sleep. It's just kind of like my wind down. I definitely listen to Joe Rogan and like Graham Hancock almost at least 2 or 3 times a week. Let's see, who else do I listen to?
Graham Hancock's a motherfucker, dude.
Right, Gary Vaynerchuk. I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk almost every day, just for like some motivation and like actually get me up and get me creating something. And then I listen to a permaculture podcast that I'm always going back to, like microgreens, because I grow microgreens on the side, and it's just always good to just keep.
What exactly is a microgreen, bro?
All right, so a microgreen is like a baby vegetable. So, like, for example, I just got done growing some radish, or harvested some radishes, some sunflower, and some green peas. So, like, the time took about 10 days to grow, and the greens are actually 4 to 40 times more nutritious than, like, the full-grown vegetable. So you're getting a lot more, like, of a nutrient-dense food in a super short time that you can, like, grow on your own. So that's kind of like what a microgreen is. It's like, for example, a handful of broccoli microgreens is equivalent to a half a pound of broccoli as far as nutritional value, which is
damn, that's crazy. And are they so they're smaller?
Yeah, they're super small, man. A lot of times they're like if you look at chefs or like in restaurants, there'll be like the little toppings that look like roots and stuff like that. That are like colored, and they're usually really expensive because like they're so fresh and they're so like nutrient packed. Like the radish is like super strong, like tasting, like the flavor is like super strong for like something being so little. So yeah, that's what a microgreen is, man.
That's dope, because like I've just recently got into like not just vegetables, but like just plants and succulents. And my brother, shouts out Eric, has like the dopest room in his house. It's just, you walk in and it's like I told him it looks like Poison Ivy's room. Like what you imagine if you walked into Poison Ivy's lair on Batman. There'd just be a whole bunch of vines, and he's got tons of succulents, and he's got like, he takes like driftwood and he's made it into benches, and just the coolest room. And the first time I walked in, I was like, wow, this is dope, but I didn't think twice about it. And then I started growing vegetables, and I got a couple succulents, and the next time I went up there, I was like, wow, this is some of the dopest shit I've ever seen. Like, it's so weird how something could spark your interest so quickly as like plants. Like I said, it was cool, but I wasn't into it, so I didn't appreciate it as much as I did the second time after. For some reason, I just one day got into it. So now, I mean, I'm looking at my bookshelf right now, it just has a fucking ton of plants, and it's dope. And I think one of the things like I was equating it to was like, I think I like them because it's like Pokemon to me, like evolutions and shit. Like when I started, I got this little vine, and when I started, it was just one little vine, and then now it's like 6 vines running all the way down the bookshelf. I was like, damn, that's like some Bulbasaur going to Venusaur type stuff. So yeah, I don't know, I think it's cool. The microgreens sound really dope though. Like, I've seen your Instagram stories with them, and never got the chance to ask you exactly like how they work, but that's crazy.
And that's the other thing too about microgreens is like, all right, so plants in general, like they grow, and it's pretty cool. Like, but they don't grow super fast. You know what I mean? Like you.
Yeah, when you said 10 days, I was like, damn.
Yeah, man. Like,
made me think about getting some. I'm probably gonna pop up with some micro peas soon, bro.
Dude, it's super satisfying because literally within 10 days of germinating the seed, like it's growing and it's ready to harvest. You could grow it even longer, and I could grow like actual sunflowers and actual peas and actual radishes if I wanted to, but again, there's like more nutritional value. But it's super cool because like I remember last night right before I harvested, I was just at the computer like editing a video, and all of a sudden I just heard like all these little like this noise just like hit the floor. It's almost sounded like some, not marbles, but it was definitely like a startling sound. So I was just like, what is that? And then I go down and look down, and it's like the sunflower seeds. Because they're on top of like the leaves or the cotyledon, and then they like shed it, and it's like, dang, these things are right here like actively moving. Like I plan on setting up a time lapse so you can like actually watch the greens like grow, but it's crazy how fast they grow in a day compared to like any other plant, man.
Yeah, I got this one plant in my room that flowers in the morning and then it'll go away at night. And the first time I did it, it flowered in the morning. I was like, oh, that's dope, I got a flower. And then that night I was like, oh shit, well, it died. Next morning, came back. So just seeing shit like that, it is weird. I was thinking about doing the same thing, set up a little time lapse, because it can't take that long to blossom like that.
Yeah. And like another plant that I'm growing that I'm really curious to see, it's called the mimosa plant. So it's called like the touch me not plant or whatever. So you know how you have like Venus flytraps that catch flies in their mouths or whatever?
You know,
So this plant moves just like that, but it doesn't actually like catch flies. So like if you touch the leaf will like fold up, or if you touch the branch, the whole branch will actually move. Like it's a touch sensitive plant. And so I'm like planting those right now and getting those ready to go, because I mean I think that's pretty cool, like a touch sensitive plant, like you touch it and it moves,
that is dope. My brother had one that was like I think it was just like a tumbleweed basically.
Yeah.
But he has it in a vase, and it's above the water, so it's not touching the water. He took it out, put water in the vase, right up to it, and then we came back in, and I want to say like an hour, maybe even shorter than that, and it was just complete bloom. Like it just looked like a whole different thing, and it's crazy how they do that. And then it's crazy how you can be sitting there watching that motherfucker and not realize what it's doing, and then you come back and it's all the way out.
Yeah, dude, that's what I love about them too, is because like it kind of, for me, when I'm dealing with something, I'll kind of neglect a bunch of stuff. So like say like washing the dishes or something like that, just be neglecting like my life at times. But then it's like you can't really neglect your life if you got plants, because you gotta take care of the plants, and it's crazy because you can see them die and you can see them coming back to life, and it's like you got to pay attention to something other than yourself. You know what I mean?
Bro, it's crazy you say that, because I've like tried to think about why I like the plants so much, and I think it's because of that. Like, just having a routine every day, and then kind of what you're saying. Like, if I get up, I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to make my bed. I don't want to do all this shit. I don't want to clean up. But then I know I have to water my plants and do all that, and so once I do that, I get into this mode to where I'm like, okay, I'd water the plants. Now what do I have to do? Okay,
Exactly.
now I gotta do this. So that's kind of something I was gonna say is like I think having a routine. A lot of people who struggle with like just day to day, I think, don't have a good routine, and a lot of people try to make excuses, because I can say this because I'm one of them, that I used to say like, having a routine's cool, but what happens when it gets broken and then you're just out of it and now you don't know what to do?
Yeah.
But it's not like that, man. Like, once you have a routine, yeah, you'll have days where it gets thrown off, but if you stick to it, like waking up early. I used to be so lazy when it came to waking up. I would try to get as much sleep as I could, as long as I could. Like, I ain't gonna lie, I could sleep till like 1-3 o'clock if I didn't have anything to do, and nobody woke me up, I would just sleep.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it was because I was depressed, and we all go through it, and yes, I was just sleeping all day. But so like I said, I have cystic fibrosis, and I'll refer to that as CF a lot. So I was actually in the hospital, and when you're in the hospital, and it's kind of difficult to explain to a lot of people like what I mean when I say in the hospital, because a normal person, they're in the hospital, something's terribly wrong, it's like a crisis situation and people are worried. When I go to the hospital, not saying that like everything's 100% okay, but a lot of times after I've, gotten older and taking care of myself better, I only go up there for what's called tune-ups. And with a tune-up, I'll go up there for like 7 to 14 days sometimes. Sometimes you'll get up there, and with CF, it makes your immune system bad. And so you'll get up there, I'll get up there and like catch some shit, and then I'll have to be up, like, it's just kind of a catch-22, like, it's a tune-up because they want to keep you well so you don't have to come back for another year. But when you're up there, shit happens, and sometimes you'll have to stay a little longer. So while I'm up there, you don't get no sleep, bro. Like, people think you're in the hospital, like you just have all this time. No, you're trying to get sleep in when you can because it's so exhausting. And then there's this misconception that like, oh, well, you're in the bed all day. But think about when you wake up late, you're sluggish the rest of the day because you've stayed in bed all day. Like, your body is like, I'm in this bed, I'm part of this bed now. Yeah. So when you're up in the hospital, like, it's a grind, man. And one of the things is you don't get sleep. But this last time, I knew that like I had up until 7 o'clock every morning to get in as much sleep as I could. But at 7 o'clock, I just had to bite the bullet and realize that there's too many people that come in and out of that door every day for me to like get good sleep. So I just said, fuck it, I'm just gonna start staying up. Yeah. And what
are they doing? Are they testing you? I'm not bad to interrupt you, but like, are they testing you all day, or like what is keeping you up the whole day? Like, I don't, you know what I mean?
So I'll go through just like a day. So, all right, so I'm hooked up. I have an IV, and they hook you up to an antibiotic with the IV about 4 times a day. So say 7 o'clock in the morning, they'll come in, they'll hook me up because I slept, but I was unhooked, is what we call it when you're not hooked up to the IV. So I was unhooked, and I'm sleeping. So 7 o'clock, they come hook me up, they give me all my medicine, and just kind of, do like a morning round, like make sure you're like alive and shit. So I'll be hooked up, and then that'll be my nurse. So she'll leave, and with CF, what you do, I do, it's called therapy. But what it does is I put this vest on, and it shakes me up because with CF, the mucus in your body is so thick, it's hard to move. So when you get shaken up for 20 minutes, it makes it a lot easier to cough up and get out. So especially if like you're sick, like the infection and shit. Yeah. And then that comes with like breathing treatments and stuff. So that'll be like 45 minutes to fully get done. And then one doctor will come in. It'll be like the doctor's aide. She'll come in and check you. And then another doctor will come in. And it's just a lot of shit. And so when I realized, like, hey, I'm not going to get no sleep up here after 7. I just started getting up at 7. And since then, and that was like 2 months ago, maybe a little longer, I can't sleep past 8:30. Yeah. Like, my body don't let me. And I'm so thankful because now, like, I'll be in bed at like 9:30 being like, please let it be late enough for me to go to sleep. And it used to be I would be up at 3 or 4 a.m. just thinking about bullshit. So yeah. That's how, that was just the point of what I was trying to get by. Is just like having a routine and sticking to it really has improved my life a whole lot. And when you're happy, like the people around you are happy. Like when you're sad and stuff, it sucks. But you could be an asshole to a lot of people and realize it or not, but you probably don't care about it, especially if like you're really sad or really depressed. So whenever your moral is high, it just spreads that positivity, man. Like you really don't understand the energy around you until you try to realize that like people feed off that shit, and everything does. Like you can't expect to be in a bad mood all the time and have people treat you the way you want to be treated. And right. I know it sucks and it's hard, and like I said, a lot of people are going through shit, but you just got to put that shit aside and realize that the world don't owe you shit. But you should also be kind to everybody. Like, spread that love.
Yeah, dude, that's it's interesting that she said something about like a routine, because that's something that, as a freelancer, it is very rough to get into a routine because I don't have like a job per se. It's not like I have like a a job I go to every day, you know, like 9 to 5, like I have to be there at a certain time. Like for me, it's like I have to get these projects done or like I don't get paid. Or like I have to go out and like find new clients or I don't get paid. So I know I need to like, you know, schedule times for doing that. But sometimes it's just like so hard dealing with like timelines, like really tight timelines, or sometimes like procrastinating will mess that up as well, of course. But then also just like going out and getting new work and like trying to plan, hey, you know, today I'm going to go pitch to businesses for 4 hours or like 3 hours, and then I'm going to go, you know, edit for 3 hours and then, you know, try to go work out or something like that. So that's something that I definitely struggle with, like, is trying to just get a routine because, excuse me, because with freelancing, man, not everything's like guaranteed daily, you know. So right now I partner with a marketing company that I'm working with, and for instance, like we'll have like podcast days. I'll come and like record podcasts and, you know, I come edit for them and stuff like that. But even that's not like it's not a guaranteed like every day. Like it might be, you know, that might be 4 hours of my day that I have to plan for like a week or two ahead that I'm not gonna have. So it's like trying to come up with a routine that like that allows that freedom, you know, is like really hard. But waking up early is definitely the thing that allows me like the extra time before like it gets busy. Like especially on social media, like if you get up at like 5 o'clock, there's nobody on social media, so then you have no option but to like, you know, focus and like do what your routine.
That's so true. Like, that's one of the reasons I do like getting up a little early is because I have that freedom just to kind of lay in the bed for 30 to 45 minutes. And, you know, we're all creatures of habit of checking online, maybe not necessarily social media, but just kind of having some kind of brain fodder go through in the mornings. And you're right. Like, if you do get up earlier, then there isn't anybody on. So you're kind of forced to think about what you want to get done with that day. Just wake up with a goal, man. Like tomorrow, I know I'm going to wake up and I'm going to figure out exactly what needs to be done to put this podcast out. You know, I'm going to edit and I'm going to like think about more of like, you know, social media routes and things to do with the podcast. But I know I have that freedom to do it all day tomorrow if I want to, but I also want to get more done than just that. And back in the day, I would have just said, you know, I'll do the podcast shit, get it done, and then do whatever I want to do for the rest of the day. Maybe not thinking about other stuff, but I don't know, man. Like, just some form of routine, and that could be just waking up early. That's a routine. Like, that is the start of your day. Like, I think that's the most crucial point is like how you wake up. You know, if you wait, and it sucks sometimes because sometimes you get woken up with negative energy, and sometimes it's unavoidable. But surround yourself with people and like things that just make you happy when you wake up, and not like I've tried to like cut out anybody in my life that only likes to talk about just bullshit and drama, and like you love them, and you're like, dang, I'm sorry you feel that way, and like it sucks, and like I could tell this is really bothering you enough that you had to tell me about it. But when that's all you hear about, like the first time you hit someone up, like I know there's people that, like if I hit them up in the morning and they were up and I'd be like, what's up? They'd be like, oh, no, just having a shitty day. It's like, motherfucker, it's 8:30. Like, how can your day be that bad already? You know, like,
Yeah.
you really can project like how you want your mood to be upon everybody else. And I mean, not everybody's gonna be happy all the time, but you don't have to let other people's negative energy, whether you love them or not, affect you. You just let that shit slide. Like, you know, I know there's like family and stuff. You can't just be like, yo, all you do is just talk about negative shit, and I don't want to talk to you. And you, like I said, you care about them and you want to try to help them, but at the same time, you gotta just kind of be like, damn, that sucks, and just think about what you got going on. That's what I try to do.
Yeah. Well, like what you're saying with that is like when people are like projecting like their energy and whatnot, kind of reminds me of like a book that is really one of my favorite books to read. It's called The Four Agreements, right? So it's like a Toltec like wisdom book. So it's like back in the day, like the what is it it's the Toltec culture, but I don't know if it's like the Mayans or like it's it has to deal with like Central America, like in that area. But some of the things is like don't take like one of the agreements is don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, like be impeccable with your word and always do your best. But the don't take anything personally really has to deal with like the projections, because people really do be going like they'll really be throwing some energy out there, and as long as you can realize, hey, I didn't do anything wrong. Maybe they're just frustrated and they're just trying to take all this energy out on me. It's like it's good to protect, like it'll really protect like your self-esteem, because then you don't have to worry about somebody's like negativity like affecting your self-esteem if you just think of like, hey, it's just like a projection of like them onto me. Like they don't understand what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not taking anything personal, like that's a dope concept, just because like you don't know what people are going through, and I know from experience you could go through a long haul of life that just kind of you don't feel like you're enjoying it, and I mean it could go on for years, and other people go through that type of shit too. You never know what someone's going through, so it's not like I hope that didn't sound like I was like, drop all your friends who are just negative, but help them out. But there's only so much of yourself you can give to people,
Yeah.
I think you need to do, if someone's like, if there are signs where one of your homies or just someone that you love is like sad or just off, just kind of like adjust how you're like going about them. I think that's a big thing. So if like they're sad, just be cool to them, be nice to them. Like you should always be nice to people, but you can't go above and beyond and just like do random. You couldn't give someone a present a day and expect the presents to still mean shit after a while,
Yeah.
So like you can't just keep. You can't. I don't know how I'm trying to get it out, but like sometimes you just need to go an extra mile with your friends and realize that they could be going through shit, and you just need to adjust the way you're coming at them. I know a lot of times, like a lot of friends, like you'll go in and it'll be roast sessions after roast sessions, and that's cool. That's your homies. Like you could take it, but there's a point when someone might be a little off, that you just adjust that a little bit. Give them a little more inspiration and find ways to kind of lift them up, because you could give a little bit of you to someone else, and just that energy just plants that seed in them that makes them change, because that's really all it takes, man. Like, people don't understand how it is hard to change, but it's so easy after the change starts happening.
Absolutely. Well, like one simple change that like me and some of my friends from home were doing, like before I started like traveling and whatnot, was like we even like eliminated like roast sessions. You know what I mean? Because like I get that they're funny and everything. Like they're definitely funny and they're good for a laugh, which a laugh is always good for the heart. But then on the flip side, like there's always some truth to like comedy, to something funny. So like that's why like we kind of like eliminated roasting each other, just because like it was funny, but like it was still like negative, you know what I mean? And if somebody was really in their feels that day, then they know it's true, even though it's funny. They might still laugh at it, but they're like, damn, like I'm laughing at this because it's true, you know what I mean?
And you go home and think about that shit.
Yeah, and then
and
exactly,
it just sits there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a healthy roast every now and then isn't bad. Like a
Yeah, I agree.
like a quip, like every now and then. But I think that just comes with maturity, where you're just like, hey, bro, I see my brother's friend group, and bro, they're so. I love them, man. Like they're so positive about each other. Like they'll say whatever if they're in a group of people, they'll say whatever makes each other look better. They'll say whatever, like
Yeah.
they'll always big up each other. Like they're never like, oh yeah, man, like fucking him, he's got a small dick, like playing like that, like they're just always the opposite. Whatever they say is positive about the other one. Yeah. Not to say that amongst themselves they're not like, motherfucker, like having their own moments when something happens. But I think when you're out and you're like with your boys like that, especially if you're in a group, like if it's you and your boys and y'all are around other people, what's that look like if y'all just keep constantly sitting there and roasting each other and like bringing up negative shit about each other? The other people are like, damn, them motherfuckers like don't even like each other, you know? And that's just that energy that turns into energy. So when I see them out, I'm like, damn, they all love each other. I know for a fact that all of my brother's friends would have his back and mine even. You know, I'm little bro, like they're my friends too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like they treat me exactly like they treat him, and they treat everybody else like they treat him too. Like they show so much love and positivity that I've never seen most of them have a bad day, and I know they do. And you know, shit, I've seen them have bad times, but they're always so positive, and they were a big inspiration of like me getting over kind of all the shit I was going through in my early 20s, you know, like real shit. So just having people like that, you don't understand the effect you have on people, even just, you know, being cool.
Yeah. So I know this is kind of like off topic. It's on topic, but it's off topic. So
we're gonna be so off topic on everything from here on out. Like there is no topics. So
all right. So like meditation. We're talking about meditation. What do you think about like drugs and meditation? You know what I mean? Because like at some points, you know, like people will smoke and meditate. Like me, like I'll smoke and I'll think about some stuff. You know what I mean? Or like try to like really go into like myself. Or like, you know, anything else, like, you know, what is your opinion on meditation and drugs? Because I also see that somebody can get dependent on drugs, you know what I mean, as far as like as a form of meditation, and then kind of like get lost in them having to have, you know, drugs for meditation. But like, what is your opinion? Because, you know, there's some trippy stuff out there that can really help you get over some stuff internally.
I think so like with like weed, like I feel like if you meditate and you're high like that, then there's a time and place, you know. So I definitely wouldn't try to be high every day meditating, because I feel like that's taking the bare bones of that meditation is me being at my pure form, like trying to just search me. I feel like if I'm on some shit, then that's not exactly what I would be thinking if I wasn't. So, and I feel like that's kind of the purpose. But like I said, there's a time and place for everything. And I think, you know, you go through like LSD, mushrooms, things like that. Like those in themselves, to me, are long form meditations. It depends on, you know, how you take it. You know, if you're like out at a party or a festival or something like that and you're taking some LSD, you're probably not thinking about meditating too much. But if you're at the house, you know, and you just kind of have it all set up that, like, you know, even if it's like you, a buddy or whatever, and y'all do the damn thing, then I definitely think there's times in those trips where you just kind of reset. Like, I know coming out of trips, like, there's plenty of times where I felt like I've just completely reset for the better. And I know that they're even legalizing mushrooms or decriminalizing mushrooms in Oakland and I think Denver.
Yeah.
And they use that for people with like depression and shit, because there's such a sick stigma to those kind of drugs. So like, I don't even like saying drugs and putting like drugs is so such an umbrella.
Yeah, it's like negative like, connotation to it.
Yeah, but I mean, medicine is drugs. Fucking fish oil pills, drugs. So those are all drugs, and they're drugs that help you. And obviously with research, it's becoming apparent that people with depression and stuff can really turn it around with certain psychoactive drugs. And so as far as like the meditation, like I said, like I feel like if you're just trying to meditate daily, I would do it on nothing, like just be yourself. But there's also something to be said for like a long ass day. You come home and get high somehow, you know, on some THC, and just kind of let your thoughts and kind of sit there and just. I know a lot of people are real creative with it too. Like when they're high, that's like some comedians. That's what they do. They get high and write their shit, and I'm sure film writers and we know musicians do.
Too,
so
I feel like music is also like a form of meditation in a way, but it's like I don't know if it's creating it or listening to it that's like the form of meditation, you know?
Well, it's that art, and I think for them that is meditation. So that's kind of like a great point. Like, it doesn't have to be you're just sitting there in your thoughts either. It could be just like I was saying, like kind of just get home from a long day and you just do what you need to do to relieve that stress. You know, like whether it's getting on a keyboard and playing something, bringing a guitar out, playing something, or just listening to music. Like just listening to music, you know, in your bed, that's very meditative too.
Yeah, I agree, man. Jimmy's what I like to listen to, man. That Jimi Hendrix gets me in a pretty good place, like meditatively. But I could also see it at festivals, man. Like honestly, festivals aren't for me, like EDM festivals and stuff. But I mean, people be getting spiritual there mainly because, like, I'm not saying like a daily meditation. They're not going to a music festival every day. But I can see some people, you know, meditating at some festivals just because, like, you can really feel the music, and when you're in that like environment, it's, I don't know, it's a very.
You don't even have to be on LSD if you're at a festival, I feel
exactly.
And I haven't even been to one per se, like a big, you know, like music festival, but I feel like
Electric Forest.
yeah, right. Like that's what I was kind of saying though. Like if you take like LSD or something, obviously you don't want to take that every day or every week or every month even. But when you do, I feel like it's just you kind of just kind of hit the reset. So I feel what you're talking about with the festivals, and I mean, you know, you can equate it to even more. Like, who's to say going to a football game for some people isn't meditation? I mean, that's where they get to just kind of let it all go. Because like I was saying, to me, meditation is just kind of letting all the bullshit go and just sitting there with you. So who's to say, you know, you got a fucking 68-year-old Alabama fan going to Bryant Denny on a Saturday afternoon? That's their meditation. Like, that's how they're
smell
getting.
that grass.
Boy, don't get me started about some Bryant Denny Stadium. But
Work
yeah,
out.
man. Hey, roll tide. There's that too. There's that. This, you know, we'll keep this going for football season. That'll be a big episode every time we can talk about Alabama and Auburn. But yeah, man. I mean, like, that's just kind of their reset button, and I feel like that's what meditation is, just resetting and realizing there's things out in the world that can make you happy, and just try to think about them and enjoy them and experience them. I think a lot of people, and I'm kind of a victim of this too, I don't travel as much as I don't want to say as much as I want to, because I didn't really want to before, but now I do. So now I'm trying to get out and do like as much as I can. But just, I know like you, like we didn't really say where we're from. I'm from Alabama, and Cam lived in Alabama too, but now you're in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So I know like just getting out has to be great for you, just changing that pace and just kind of hitting reset, because I mean, you can always come back. You know.
Yeah, I could always come back, but I probably won't. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, hopefully you don't.
Yeah.
And hopefully you find what you want out there, or you know, be it North Carolina or wherever it is.
Yeah.
And I've always been one that's been like, I've always wanted to get out of home, or you know, Alabama, because I feel like just what I want to do in life, it's just the lifestyle I want to live and all that. It's not here, but at the same time, I'm big on family. Like, my family is huge.
Absolutely.
So I've also struggled with that. And then, you know, with my disease and everything, it's not like I could just pack up and leave everywhere. So,
Right.
but, you know, those are like excuses and shit that I have in my mind. And it's preventing me from doing what I truly want to do in my life. Being true to myself. I could not live in Alabama my whole life and be satisfied with. I could be satisfied and live in Alabama my whole life, but I don't think I'll be thriving the way I could be if I went out and did, you know, what I want to do in my mind.
Well, I think the biggest thing, man, that really, I guess, affected me, like, when I left was, you know, number one, it's good to get out of, like, a surrounding where everybody already knows you and they've known you for years, so they already have these preconceived, you know, notions and ideas about you. And, you know, it's kind of hard to change when they have those preconceived ideas and notions. But then also at, like, the same time is you get a whole nother perspective when you go to, like, a different city, because it's a whole different vibe, especially a different state. Like it's a whole different vibe. And when you're out there and you don't really know anybody, like then you really start to know yourself, because then you don't have people telling you, oh, you know, this is who you were, this is blase blase. Like you're like, okay, well, now that I'm by myself, what do I really enjoy, or what do I really want, or what do I really want to do today? You know what I mean? And just
Yeah,
not
like
have to
straight
worry
up by
about
yourself.
anything. Exactly. But you know, it's super stressful. It's super free. There's a lot of freedom behind it, but it is super stressful, because you know, you're like, dang, like I don't have this thing to fall back on, and I don't know anybody out here, so like it's up to me to go meet people. But at the same time, you know, that's how you broaden your horizons. So it's like, I think it's been the best thing for me, just to be able to get out and just have like a new surrounding. Because you know, when you get stuck in a place, kind of like a plant, man, you know, when it gets stuck in a pot, you know, it can't grow anymore. But then once you repot the plant into something bigger, it'll grow into a bigger plant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. I've seen like I follow a ton of like plant Instagrams and shit now. I've seen so many where they pull it out of the pot and the vines are just wrapped all the way around it. It's crazy looking. And then you realize, like, that's a great analogy, because you realize it's not going to go nowhere else. Like, it's done. And then if it keeps staying there, it's going to die. So,
but
if you stay in Alabama, you're going to die.
Well, yeah, but at the same point, it's like, you once you do that and you start to, you know, I guess get other ideas, you realize that, hey, these are how other places are doing it, and this is how you could improve, like say, this is how I could improve my home city, you know what I mean? So then at times I do have ideas about excuse me, about coming back, because it's like, man, I just got hit with all this game from all these different people, and I've taken in all these different things, that it's like, you do know, you have an idea of what you would need to do to like help the city grow into the city you would want it to be, you know what I mean? So it's like, there's two sides to it for sure.
Cam's about to come back to Montgomery like motherfucking Batman. Like, he done went off, learnt all about the League of Shadows. He coming back to the Gump to save us.
Yeah.
Nah, but I feel you, man. Like, for sure, like, just getting out and like different culture and stuff is real important. I think that's the beauty of the internet, is you could see other shit without, like, think about back in the day. I say back in the day, I mean like the 90s. Think about then.
Get back to the 90s.
Hey, that's a good decade. But think about it, like, if you, all right, so even if I was a 20-year-old in the 90s, I would have no idea what Montana looked like. But I can get on Instagram and see what Montana looks like, you know? So, like, you see shit like that you didn't used to see. So, I think that's why it's so, like, society is just changing rapidly. It's just because everybody is, like, seeing everybody else's life, for better or worse. Like, I think that's the reason why a lot of people get fucked up, is because they're looking at other people's Instagrams and shit all day. And, like, they might see, like, all these other people living happy lives, and they're like, damn, I don't have that, or I want that. And you just think about, like, what you don't have. I think that's a big deal. Like, I saw something that said, like, you know, stop following like IG thoughts and shit on Instagram and follow like our pages, and you'll change your perspective. And while there's still a few that you can't unfollow, I mean, you can't drop all the hoes. I've tried to do that, you know. I've tried to like just follow more stuff that inspires me, so every time I'm like scrolling, I'm not just seeing like bullshit. Well, I mean, you know that, but I unfollowed, like I said, like negative people. Like,
yeah,
I don't follow. You know, on Facebook now you could like be friends with them, but you don't follow them. There's so many people I don't follow on Facebook because all they talk about is bullshit. Like, and then you know if you like defriend them, they just make a deal out of that, and it's like you didn't want any type of that energy in your life, that negative energy. So that's a kind of tip that I say is like, you know, if you're afraid someone's gonna get butthurt that you defriended them on Facebook, just unfollow them. You know, it just kind of, to me, just puts them on the back burner. You ain't got to think about it, and you didn't start nothing, you didn't cause no drama. You just wanted to be like, hey, I see you, you might have been my homie at one point. I feel you. Like, I hope you're doing good, but I just can't take what you're putting off anymore all the time.
Yeah, dude. And going back to like that Montana, like when you're talking about like seeing Montana, like before we weren't able to see it, now like with social media we're able to see it. The only other thing that like that is a super cool thing, but there's still a need to go to these places in real life because yeah, you're seeing what Montana looks like, but you're still seeing what somebody else's perception of Montana is like. You know what I mean? So you're seeing like their photography on it, or you're seeing like their style. You know, you're seeing what they want you to see of Montana, and it might not necessarily be like the thing that you know would be the best thing for you to see or give you the best impression of Montana. You know what I mean? So like, say, I don't know. I don't even know what's in Montana. I know it's in Colorado. I know it's in Colorado, but I don't know it's in Montana. But like for instance, like
Joe Montana, I think, is in there.
yeah, like say Colorado for instance, right? So for one person, they might show you know the mountains and you know the lakes and all that kind of stuff up there, which would be awesome. But then like to another person, they might show them you know all the
Dispensaries.
yeah, exactly. And then they would have a negative connotation of Colorado. But then that's not exactly what Colorado is. They just see that on social media and they see, okay, this is a big industry that's in the area, but they're not, you know, that's not what the whole state is about. So that's why I think it's still like it's still crucial to go to places and see it because like the media is just it's all I guess it's all a perception of whoever's posting it. You know what I mean?
Perception, dude. Like, that's a huge word. Like, once you understand that life is just perception, then I think you'll have a better go at it. Like, it's really, like, exactly like you were saying. It's just about how you take information in. And, like you said, like, you're getting forced perceptions now because you know, you get the picture of the mountains. You weren't necessarily asking for that, but now that's your perception of Colorado. And then yeah, you keep scrolling, you see the dispensary pictures. Now that's all you think there is. So I totally feel you on that. Like definitely, and just experience other cultures. Like go talk to people. So many people, and I mean I get it because there are a lot of rude motherfuckers in the world. And it's hard to just be like, I don't know. You ever just look at a person and be like, I kind of want to talk to that person and just pick their brain for a minute. Like something about them just makes you be like, whether you want to be nice and just be like, you know, hey, how's your day? Which I think people don't do enough, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're all on like Earth, like, and people say shit like that and they're like, oh, that's like hippie talk, like fucking Earthbound store type shit, like. No, like we're literally all on Earth, and the only reason that you think the way you think is because you were brought up in what we have set up. You know, like I'm trying not to lose people here, but if Hitler never died and like ruled the world, the whole world would be totally different, and there would be assholes and like. It wouldn't be what it is today. And you don't realize that like we're here and we need to be cool to like everybody here because people's lives are unfortunately more important than other people's. I mean, it's just, that's how it goes because that's how we have it set up. But once you just strip it down and realize, hey, like for real, your life don't mean shit more than mine. You just have like more clout or more, responsibilities, or you know, like there's people who have done more than other people who deserve more recognition and stuff, but at the end of the day we're all just here and people and living lives until it's done. So I don't think people take time to realize that it's just like it's so fast. And I know you can have
or go ahead.
I mean that was an unfinished thought, so you go ahead.
So I think it's crucial to talk to other people, but I think it's definitely crucial to unplug and talk to other people. Mainly because like what you're talking about, like we're getting like fed these like forced perceptions, like with the new stuff coming out about like Google altering search results and like YouTube altering search results. But you know what I mean? to favor like their agendas, and then you got all these other Twitters doing the same thing, and Pinterest is doing the same thing. It's like
They're all
super
getting
crucial.
political. It sucks.
Yeah, man. So that's why like it's crucial to like get your information from like multiple sources, especially in the real world. Like experience that stuff for yourself instead of like just hear what people are saying about something. You know what I mean?
Dude, I get so stressed out if I'm going to somewhere that I don't know and my GPS drops. I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, how am I gonna? What? I'm lost. Like,
Right. And that's
and
a
then I
life
think,
skill we used to have.
yeah, and then think about like before even like the maps and shit that you would print out, the turn by turn directions you could print out. Like, people bought real maps and shit. Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. I'm glad I did not grow up driving and having to look at a map to figure out where I'm going. But at the same time, I mean, if shit goes down and you really don't have no phone, then those people are going to be a lot more equipped to survive than I am because they're going to know the city.
Exactly,
So,
man. Yeah.
it's, I don't know, like, there's so much good and bad. And I think a lot of times we trip on, like, on our generation and our time right now. Like, I think we think that, like, there's never a more, like, transcending time in the world or whatever than right now. Like, we're going from, like, no computers to what we have now in such a short amount of time. But, I mean, there's so much shit that's, like, happened that you don't understand how much it affected just all of society unless you were living in that time. So I think today is crazy, but we're just evolving. Like, I don't know. Do you think the computers are going to take over the world one day?
So here's my thought on this, because I've been thinking about it a lot lately, especially with Elon Musk's whole Neuralink thing that he just presented, and him talking on, he was on Joe Rogan. He had some really interesting stuff to say about that too. But I see two things happening, honestly. I see us joining, with the AI. We're like having a symbiotic relationship with it. So we're like, using it to further us. Using AI to help us. I don't think AI is going to get to a point where it's going to be like, it's going to be able to make decisions or like think critically, I should say. It can make decisions, but I don't think it'll be able to think critically and like do what a human brain can do. But I do see that people will be like unplugging theoretically and just getting away from technology because like it's just getting into every part of their life, you know what I mean? And it's taking away these basic skills. So like if something does happen, it's making it to where we're completely dependent on electricity and, electricity and the internet. So what happens when electricity goes out? Well, we're dumb, if we're not unplugged from it. If we don't have at least some basic life skills. So I kind of think that there might be a faction that will break off from all this technology, and that will be like a complete like analog like society. I don't want to say society, but a group. And I think
They're called Amish.
That's kind of where I think it's gonna happen. There's gonna be, you got the tech guys, and then you got the guys that are like kind of like the nature versus technology, whole thing. Like that's what I think is gonna happen. I think it's gonna be kind of like a faction or divide, and hopefully everybody will like live peacefully with each other. But with the way technology is evolving, I mean, technology is used for good, but it's also used for some bad stuff. So I see a split happening. That's what I'm predicting, and I'm probably going to be a part of that, the unplug split if that were to happen, because I'm not getting nothing into my brain. The patents are saying that, like, if you look up certain U.S. patents, man, there's some scary stuff out there. For instance, like your screen, your monitor, your phone. I just posted a patent on Facebook and on my Instagram story that was talking about it shows that they can affect your central nervous system through the pulses in your monitor and your phone.
I saw that, so I want you to explain that because I didn't get a chance to like read all that shit. So this is a perfect chance.
Man. No, there's a lot of shit like that, man. I know it sounds all like conspiracy theory, but these are legitimate U.S. patents. Like, they can control like your central nervous system through through your monitors, through your computers, through like your like Wi-Fi, any type of signals going through the air, any type of or not sound signals, any type of waves. So like you have like electromagnetic waves, you have like RF signals and all that kind of stuff. They can affect your central nervous system. They can make you feel mad. They can make you feel sad. They can sexually like excite you because sex is the number one industry in America. So why wouldn't they do that?
I need my FBI guy to chill out then.
Yeah, I mean, and these are like proven patents. Like that patent that I was just talking about was from 2001. So like that's like in the beginning of like the whole like smartphone era of everything going. All technology is like moving. Like the technology starting to become a lot faster.
So they definitely have that shit like in play right now.
Yeah, man, like they're definitely using waves, and that's the scary part about it, is that they definitely got to a part where they've learned how to manipulate, they as being the government or whoever owns the patents, I should say. I shouldn't say the government. Whoever owns the patents, they can manipulate sound waves or any type of waves to make you feel a certain type of way. Even XXXTentacion, he talked about that in his music. He talked about how there's certain frequencies that when you play music at certain frequencies, it'll make you feel certain types of ways because it'll target certain parts of your brain. And all these they're literally U.S. patents that you can go look up. And that's the scary part, is like you can show people all this like real ass stuff that's happening and nobody blinks twice. They're just like, oh, well, okay, I'm okay with being brainwashed by my phone. I'm okay with this happening. I'm like, y'all realize like they're really manipulating y'all out here, or not y'all, but because I'm in it as well, because I have to use a computer and a phone, but like we're really being manipulated out here to feel certain types of ways.
Think about a war in the future, like that would use like that type of shit as its weapon. Like like back in the day they were like gas people, but now you're sending like waves and shit to fuck up people.
Well, they do that for riot control, right? So they already have something that it's a frequency, and they'll shoot it at like a crowd of people, and it will
like a dog whistle.
Almost like a dog whistle, but it'll actually make their skin feel hot and make them feel like they're burning. But it's a sound wave that's being shot. It's like non-lethal, but it'll still make them feel like they're burning. And that's just like one example of of what they're using. But
I looked up, or was down the YouTube rabbit hole the other day on Operation Midnight Climax. I don't know if you heard of that one, but it's where like they would, and this happened, you could look it up, the government hired sex workers to like dose these dudes with LSD, and they would like basically try to see if they could mind control them.
Yeah.
So think about how fucking, and that happened, and then it went on to like them doing like sandwich shops, and then they would dose these people and then monitor them the rest of the day. Think about if you never did LSD and then you got dosed like that. Of course you could be controlled. Like
Yes.
someone could tell you what to do. Like for real, you would be so out of your fucking mind and not know what is going on. I couldn't imagine it, honestly.
Yeah. I couldn't either, man. Honestly, that would
Like,
be,
I feel like I would know now. I'd be like, damn, someone dosed me with some shit. Like, I am on LSD right now. I feel like, yeah, you would know that after you've tried it. But if you haven't ever tried it, good God.
Yeah, especially if you just come as like the person saying, "Hey, I know why this is happening to you. I'm in control of it." You know what I mean?
And then it was a prostitute. Jesus, think about it. That would suck. Just think about that scenario for you. You walk in, probably a shitty hotel or something, or I don't even know. I don't think it probably did say where it was at, but I didn't remember.
That was also an interrogation method that the FBI and the CIA used against like prisoners and stuff. It was like part of their little truth serum. They'd give them like LSD because they could influence their mind, so much that because these people had never done this, that they could just kind of make them think these crazy things, And
that shit was research, bro, because that's the type of, like, they do that now. Like, cops, like, when they interrogate people, interrogation is an art. Like, if someone feels like that
Interrogation is scary as hell, bro.
Yeah, they can make you think whatever, and like you don't think about it until you're there. I mean, I've never been like hardcore interrogated, but I can imagine.
Bro, I have.
It probably sucked, didn't it? I bet they were trying to
Yeah.
run you around as much as they could until either you told them
Not really.
whatever,
Alright,
or
so, well, this is what they did, man. They I've been interrogated like a couple of times, just because bullshit, man, right? And so they always tie you to something that's like super uncomfortable, but then they'll pretty much tell you what you're doing, and like you know, number one, just don't say anything, because like that's the biggest thing. Just don't say shit, because they're so good at manipulating you, and like it's been proven that people can place memories into your mind that never happened. You know what I mean? By a way of talking. Like that is a real thing. That's like psychology.
for sure.
They can like place like fake memories in your mind. So it's just like, dude, it's scary, man. If you don't know yourself, you don't have control of your mind.
The only
But yeah,
time I think I've been like
interrogation
hardcore
suck.
grilled would have been like by like I've had crazy ex-girlfriends, a couple of them, and
Oh Lord.
they'll hit you with stuff like you didn't do or whatever, like, and sometimes you don't just want to be like, all right, fuck it, I did it, because you know you didn't, but at the same time you just want to be like, all right, well, this is going nowhere. So I can only imagine feeling that way with someone who's just crazy and not professionally trained.
Yeah.
I think
But
we've
yeah,
all been
man.
there.
Yeah, it's interrogation stuff, it's some scary stuff, especially being like a black guy, man, with crazy hair now. There was just a person that got killed in Raleigh, got shot in the back 8 times, because he looked like a suspect that robbed the gas station and took like some phones and like a couple $100 cash, but it was a mistaken identity and they shot the wrong person. Shot him 8 times in the back. So like that's like the whole thing is it's pretty scary, man, honestly.
That shit does suck, bro. Like I can't imagine. I mean, we're at the point to where like I don't want to say like, all right, so driving while black and shit like that, that's definitely a thing. Like you have to go through that. And some people think like if a white person is like kind of sympathizes with black people about that, they're like, oh well, they're just trying to, get in good, get invited to the cookout. But no, like for real, that shit has to suck. Like you have to be aware of that. I know my nephew is mixed, and I worry about that shit for him. I mean, because if it's a situation where is he black or white, he's gonna be pegged as black, and a lot of times like that is a negative in certain situations. And so yeah, man, like I worry about him, and then so that emotion with him opened me up to feeling that emotion with my friends, not just my friends, but just anybody that has to go through any kind of like profiling or shit. I mean, you could, not even necessarily be black and go through profiling, but it's really prevalent with black people. So I can't imagine. I know it sucks.
Yeah, but like on the flip side of it, like
Y'all are really good at basketball.
no, on the flip side of it, like people are saying like, like they hate the cops and all that because, of like the whole profiling thing. But I think the whole thing, I don't think it's I think it is a lack of certain training, or really I think it's like PTSD that hasn't been addressed, right? Because that is where that fear, in my opinion, comes from when somebody's looking at somebody else like profiling them super hard. It's because they had a negative experience probably with somebody that looked like that, or heard about a negative experience. So then in their mind they just have like, I guess you could call it a PTSD, where they're just like super scared, either scared or super anxious about a certain situation, that they might act incorrectly when things happen at like a speed that they're not used to, if that makes sense, So I think if like they had the right training and like as far as like PTSD type deals, because you have to think of police officers. Like both of my parents are security, or they were security forces in the Air Force. So they were in some kind of sketchy areas, you know. You're dealing with people that are just in general, you know, they can do some crazy stuff to you. Like they will turn around and, you know, they might, you know, try to, you know, shoot you. I'm not saying, you know, that's everybody, but I'm saying that is something that's just stuck in their mind. Like, is this person going to hurt me or are they not? Because they've had these experiences. But I think it's just like the correct training to figure out, okay, step A, if they do step A, step B, then they're not going to go down this road. But if they cross these certain flags, if I see these 3 red flags, then hey, let me be a little bit more cautious. I'm not saying aggressive, but being a little bit more cautious. That, and then like non-lethal training, like rubber bullets. We have rubber bullets. Like, you know, I understand we have real bullets, but like I think rubber bullets should be, you know, one of the first things to be drawn, because, you know, either that or a taser. I think that's something else that should be, you know what I mean? Like that should be emphasized as well.
Well, it's crazy that we're sitting here talking about like fucking people being able to manipulate waves and shit, but we haven't come up with something that's like a guaranteed non-lethal weapon for cops to use, but it will 100% or as close to 100% as you could be detain the suspect or whoever you're trying to, like in situations like that where this dude got shot in the back 8 times. Surely there should be some kind of weapon you could fire one time, it debilitates them, and then they're done. If we have shit that can control your nervous system through this little camera I'm looking at right now on my laptop, then there should be shit like that. I think the training, I think that's a great point. Like, I think they don't go through enough, or I hate making generalizations and saying they, but when I say they, I mean like the bad ones, the bad cops. They don't go through enough training and
because there are good
mental
ones out
training
there, for sure. Absolutely. I got some friends that are cops, and you know there are definitely some good cops out there. So
there's great ones out there.
Yeah, it's not saying all cops are bad, just for the listeners out there.
But I mean, a cop can make your day. Like a cool cop can make your day. Like think about like, all right, you're riding down the road, you're going like 15 miles over the speed limit. Cop pulls you over. He had every right to pull you over. You know you're gonna get a ticket, but he could have been a cool dude and been like, hey, you know, I know nobody's on the road. This wasn't, you know, you weren't putting anybody in danger, but if there was, I'd write you a ticket, but I'm gonna let you slide. Like something like that, bro, would make your day. So, not necessarily saying like that's what they have to do to be good cops, but like just an example of also what you were saying. Like, you know, they walk up to the car, they don't know if this person is gonna shoot them or not.
Right.
So that's crazy. I could never be a cop because I just don't.
Same.
I'm not programmed that way. I think there's certain people who are programmed to be certain things. There's certain people who are like LeBron James was born to maybe not necessarily play basketball, but he was born to do something athletic.
Yes.
And there's certain people that I think are born with exactly the type of wiring you need to handle being a cop. And unfortunately, that person could still get killed by some crazy person. Mm-hmm. So that's where it's like, where do you
draw that line? Yeah.
It's just it's a give and take. And I mean, I know, like you said, like the dude that got shot in the back, that's horrible. Like 8 times in the back, that's ridiculous. I don't know the whole story, but just from that information, and I've seen shit like that happen on social media. Like I've heard stories that's happened, and I know that those are facts. So those type of cops are like, come on, bro, you can't. And then it just makes all the other ones look bad. So, and then the shitty thing is like, you'll see maybe like 1 or 2 posts a month about a cop doing something good, and when you see it, you're like, damn, they're pandering to try to make cops look good. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
But really, cops do a lot of good, and they should be shown. But it just sucks. It's to that point to where, like, when I see shit like that, I'm like, whatever. But when you really go into it and look at it, you're like, all right, cool. I'm glad this cop did something good. I know I'm always like, well, good, he did his job, you know, because that's what cops are supposed to do. But we don't appreciate the good ones enough, I think.
Yeah, well, like, all right, so here's my opinion on the whole, I guess, like, cops and stuff.
How the fuck did we get here, by the way?
Right? So, like, in Europe, at least from what I've seen, I've never visited Europe, right? So I'm not speaking from saying I've been in Europe, but from the things I've seen about Europe, the police are lit up. You know, they're not necessarily undercover. You know, they're there for public safety and like for help. Whereas in like the police state, or like not police state, but in America, you know, they are undercover and they are trying to like catch these things, you know, instead of saying, hey, we're here for anybody that might need help. Like it almost feels like they're hunting, you know what I mean? And so that also kind of gives like a weird little dynamics between just civilians and cops, because it's like, okay, these people are hunting, but they're trying to, of course, enforce the law, but some of them have quotas they have to make, some of them don't. But it's still, there's that feeling of, oh, is he gonna pull me over just to try to find something? You know what I mean? So it's like that. I think there's like a little bit of a difference in dynamic as far as like policing in the United States and Europe. I don't know. I'd love to hear, you know, other opinions on it for sure.
Yeah, I when you were talking about that, I was just thinking, kind of spaced out, thinking about this one time I broke down and I had like my phone was dead, no gas. I had to walk down the interstate and like 4 cops passed by me and not one of them stopped. And I mean, perception, right? Like all 4 of those cops could have legitimately, I mean, none of them had their lights on, but all of them could have had something more important to do than they felt like any kind of danger I was in. It was the middle of the day, so, you know, it didn't look like I was like in dire need of help. But at the same time, every time they passed by, I was like, well, that sucks. It'd be cool if I could just use your phone for a second.
Right.
But that's also anybody. Like, that's not just cops. Like, also, I know people are crazy, so it's like, you see someone walking down the side of the road, it'd be cool to help, but I know a lot of people, me including, most times are like, I don't know that person, like, they could not be nice. There's a different examples. Like, if I saw someone, like, trying to push their car and shit, I'm always going to get out and help.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. But, you know, people are crazy, so I get it. But that's why I feel like, you know, one of those cops should have been like, hey, bro, you straight?
Yeah.
Walking down the interstate and there's a broke down car back there.
At least try to offer to help. Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm with you right there. Another thing that with, like, saying, like, helping a stranger, that makes me, like, I'm more adamant to help a stranger if I know I have some type of protection against something, if something were to happen. I think that also comes with, like, the whole territory. Like, as far as helping somebody, like, you got to know that you can protect yourself in a situation, you know what I mean? And that security also gives you, like, comfort to help people, because if you're scared of somebody, you're not going to help them, you know what I mean? But if you have that comfort knowing you know how to protect yourself, you're going to be a lot more apt to help somebody, because you know you can protect yourself, you know?
Yeah, man, I keep that thing on me. I help everybody. Well, hey, bro, I think, like, I mean, we're coming up on about 1:30. I think, you know, we should probably wind it down. I've got so many notes on, like, that we didn't even get to, like, touch upon. Like, the shit just flowed good. So, you know, we'll keep those, and me and you will talk about, you know, how we feel about this episode, and go back, listen to it, and do all that. And what I wanted to say, like, before we got out is, you know, I'll throw my social media out there. It's OG White Mamba. You can find me Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Cam, what's your stuff?
Mine is Cam is on a trip on Instagram, and everything else is Cam with the camera. So website Cam with the camera, YouTube Cam with the camera, Facebook
Cam with the camera.
But I'm not on Twitter. Well, I'm on Twitter, but I'm not on Twitter. So yeah.
Yeah, man, like, you do a lot of cool shit, and I'm excited about, like, you know, picking your brain on a lot of this stuff and just sharing our ideas. Y'all definitely need to go check out Cam's YouTube and Instagram to kind of I know, go check out his Instagram, check out them stories so you can see the micro greens. So you'll see all that type of shit that we were talking about. And, eventually, if this is going good, then we'll set up a whole plethora of social media for this podcast, which I don't think we even said what we thought the name was going to be. I think we might try to, what I was thinking was, we'll let it marinate, There's ways we could get this out without having a name. And I'd love to hear from other people of like, so you heard this episode, you pretty much know what we're thinking of, what type of way we want to go with this. What do you guys think that the show should be called? Or like, what would you like to hear on this show? It's always hard to end them, because you want to go out like on a note, but you don't just want to kind of go out cold. So I'm gonna let you say anything you want to say, and y'all have heard from me. So I'll see y'all next time. Appreciate y'all listening.
Yeah. All right. So I guess the thing I'm gonna go out on is dum dum dum. Hold on.
I told you, bro. It's so hard to end them. Like, and that's another thing. Like, we don't have to end on something crazy, Like, y'all are hearing the process right now. This is us, like, figuring shit out. So, this is what this podcast is going to be. Bear with us. If we get to episode 100, shit's going to be a lot more smooth. I can promise you that. And I feel like even as the podcast progressed, like, we both were more comfortable in just talking. So things are gonna get better. Go ahead, Cam.
All right, so my ending note is go outside and go experience things. That's it. Tomorrow, just go outside and go experience something new. That's all. That's what I'm leaving everybody with.